Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. There used to be a time when my partner had to adjust in the first few moments of a channeling. There was a time where he had to actually change his countenance. Try to relax. Let the pineal flow without what is called the filters of human consciousness, belief. And now I just jump in whenever I want. It's the way of it. That the practice of communicating with Spirit pays off. And you get better at it. And so the human being is asked to practice. Now don't take this wrong. For in a linear fashion, that would mean, well, I'm going to have to assign times for meditation and extend them. And that's not so. What if I told you it may just be the opposite? The meditations would be shorter but more intense. Meditation is beautiful. It is a time put aside for communication with that which is inside and outside. And yet it indeed is also changing. What if it were possible that every time you'd blink your eyes, you'd be in meditation? That it would be so intrinsic to the value of your cellular structure to be in this mode that your cells would just crave it. They would crave to be in meditation 24/7, but a walking meditation, a working meditation. So that as you get up out of your chair, there's no difference really than when you sit down to meditate. That kind of a relationship with your higher self would be doable for the human being. And this is what the masters have taught. It is doable. And not only is it doable, it is something that your cells want for you. You've got this missing bridge that my partner has talked about between corporeal self and innate self. The intelligent part of your body literally craves to be in touch with the rest. To have human consciousness not only aware of it, but always working with it. There's part of your cellular structure that feels this is coming, dear ones. More than ever before, as energy shifts, the quantum parts of you are alert. They really have a feeling, if you want to say, that it is at hand. This also creates in a human being sometimes a little discomfort, because you don't know what's next. Every single time you feel change coming, the human being wonders whether it's going to be good or not. And so I'm here to tell you, oh soul, what you are feeling now, I want you to relax with. I want you to relax with it. And let it in. And the expansion will be the result. The expansion of you with you, of you with your higher self. Isn't it time? Isn't it time to meet the rest of you? Think about that. You're bigger than you think, and I'm going to continue this teaching from last night about the soul. I only have a couple more things to say about it. And you may have heard it before, and my partner may have mentioned it before in his talks. But I want you to hear it from me. And so this would become part 2 of what we call soul journeying. Now, the soul isn't journeying anywhere. It's you who are journeying to meet it. You're cognizing what it is. You are journeying to meet yourself. And we have named it this way for a reason. It's not linear. You have to look at it backwards in order to understand the profundity of it. Before I begin, I would like to say, and I know where I am. It's precious here. I've told you it is a piece of Lemuria here. I've told you the Pleiadians are here. The very creative source. The beauty of a benevolent society that would be in ascension status and be your spiritual parents. That energy is here. There are only a few places on the earth. There's only really 24 of them who have been assigned the attributes of time capsules. They pair up eventually, and you'll understand the push-pull energy between them. One pushes what you don't have, and one removes the old stuff you don't need. That's how they work. By the way, that's also the attributes of the push-pull energy in the center of the galaxy you have mistakenly called a black hole. It's not a singularity. It cannot exist. We have said this before. Isn't it interesting that in physics everything comes in pairs, and then when you look at the middle of the galaxy, there's only one thing? Where is your common sense? There's got to be a pair there also. There always is in physics. There's a push-pull energy. What we call the twins are there. And there's a reason for it in physics, and they will discover it. It's just unseen at the moment. There's a node in New Zealand. It's an important one. It's because this is a piece of Lemuria, and because it is a previous home or an existing one, depending upon how you look at time, to those which helped you create the divinity inside you. We've spoken of it before, and it is Mount Cook. And so I'm just going to take a moment to say thank you for the ones who took the time to respect it and to look at it. And it says thank you back. There's a lot to know about that. And as time unfolds and it gets paired up with its counterpart, I want you to look at the energies between them and realize why they are what they are. Enough said for that. I want to continue my journey of the human soul. It's not human. We call this the human soul because we're on earth, because we are with you, and because that's what you call it. But it isn't. The soul is the creator. We've told you this before, long before. This earth was even cool. The soul existed, and it would eventually be part of you. It's eternal in both directions. And so I want to take you on this journey. Where have you been? Before the Pleiadians did what they did on this planet, where were you? Did you have anything to do with what came before this planet? Or, as some of those who would be the experts in spiritual things would tell you, that everything started when you arrived? Really? I want to give you some information. It makes it so much bigger for you. There have been many worlds before yours that have gone through what you've gone through. We've given you some of the names of those in the past that you would even recognize. The Pleiadians are the most immediately removed from you. They are your spiritual parents. They did the work. And they watch over you like parents would watch a child that has totally, completely free choice without even knowledge of their parents. There is benevolence, there is love, there's caring, especially now. There's an awakening on this planet. You have passed this precession of the equinoxes. You're in an energy that I foresaw and I told you about 23 years ago. And here we sit. There's celebration in certain parts of the galaxy because of this planet Earth. Oh, don't look at your news today, okay? This is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about current events. I'm talking about world events, not world as you would think of it in the news, but world that is the earth from its creation to now. And all the things that have taken place in the way they have, what you've done with it. You're sitting on the precipice of massive change. You have free will, you always have, you always will. But we've seen this before. And here's what I want to tell you. So have you. For some of you, this is the 12th or 13th time you've done this. Do you realize that? Your soul has been involved in other places, in other planets, in other constellations. Life is so old in this galaxy, dear ones, compared to yours. So old. Life could start as easily as a few million years when a planet is ripe and ready and begins properly and accelerates in the right way. Not that hard. You will find eventually, listen science, this is a prediction, you will find eventually that when you discover life in other places that are not related to this planet, it will have the same kind of DNA structures. These DNA structures are common to the galaxy. It is how life develops. Oh, there will be some variations, but you will see a commonality that will tell you that what you have on the planet is not unique. Hardly. When you look out at the stars and ask yourself, is there life? It's like standing on a beautiful beach on the planet and asking if anywhere else on the planet there's another beach. Just because you can't see it. The processes that would create a beach on your planet are the processes that would create your planet itself and other planets that would have life. You've been part of the process. Not the corporeal you, but the soul you, the part of the collective you. The part that you can touch right now if you want to. The most profound way through the pineal. And start a communication with your cellular structure that at first you won't even feel it. You won't even know it's there. But when you open a door and keep it open, very, very slowly the energy seeps in a very benevolent and sweet way so it doesn't surprise you or shock you or make you afraid. And you wake up one day and you realize you're not alone. You realize that there is help. You realize you're more peaceful. You realize you're more healthy. And then you start realizing it's working. That's how it works. Do you realize why that is? So we don't frighten. So that we don't startle. Humans are slow to cognize things they have never seen before or never imagined before. So there is no fear. And so we go slow. There's nothing more beautiful than an awakening human being. Finding that which is missing in their life is really there all along. Somebody needed to hear that. You have been part of the plan. You have been a soul of the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians had a planet before theirs, older, much older than theirs, in another constellation in this galaxy, and you were part of that. They're your grandparents. And their name is Arcturian. They're also the Sumerian. There are so many. There are so many ways that this happens. If you're working with these groups, dear ones, and you want to know who they are or where they came from, they're just going to smile at you. But they're here to help. The way grandparents help. The Pleiadians are different. They've got responsibilities. The others don't. They're just here to play with you, to help you. There's so much help. There's an allowance we have of these who have helped plant the seeds in this galaxy to come here to this planet, which is the only planet of free choice, and walk among you and be part of you. They're guides, they're helps, they're whatever you want to call. They're advisors. And the only rules they have is you have to see them. They cannot announce themselves to you. Many have. There have been many who actually have sensed them and feared them. There's many who think that they're visitors that perhaps are going to capture their soul or kill them just because they don't even understand. There is a wall, you call it a veil, between multidimensional things like that and who you are. And this wall, this veil, is beginning to lift. Now I want to tell you, so you understand and know this, that the veil lifts because you pull it up. Brute force of consciousness and spiritual awakening will pull the veil up. It doesn't go up by itself. It doesn't get thinner by itself. It just sits there waiting for you to pull on it. That is the arrangement. You have got to do it. Let me put it in better terms and stop the metaphors. If you're going to awaken to who's around you, who is multidimensional, it's going to be on your terms, not ours. And that's always the way it has been. You've got to search if you're going to find it. God is not going to present a situation to you that's going to give you positive proof of who you are or what's on the other side of the veil. This is, if you want to call it, a puzzle for you to figure out. It has to be that way. And every single planet that has gone through this has figured it out in this fashion. And here's what I want to tell you, and here's how it applies to today's teaching. You were there. You were there. Does this carry over into your Akash? A little. But not as much as your experience on earth. Now we're going to get there in a moment. I want to tell you there's two things that I want to remind you of. And we've given them before, but we're talking about souls in general. So I want to tell you what they are. The first is this. Even though yesterday we told you you cannot put human attributes on God, and that it's a mistake to think that the creator of the universe has these human things, there's still one that you always seem to develop on your own. It's an old energy concept that's going to have to disappear before anything happens of significance to you. And that is the concept of judgment. Judgment is a human attribute, an old human attribute, an old energy human attribute that is separatist. Judgment comes from one human looking at another, or one civilization looking at another, and deciding that the other civilization is not behaving properly. Judgment is one human being looking at another and saying they're not doing it right. Judgment is everywhere. All over the planet, always has been. Judgment creates wars. And so naturally, when you build your religious structures, judgment is God. And it isn't. And it isn't. And it never was. But it's ingrained into you. Am I doing it right? How often do we hear that? Dear Spirit, I don't want to offend any angelic entity anywhere here. Dear Spirit, I don't want to do the wrong thing. Dear Spirit, this or that. What are you afraid of? Judgment? You're still doing it. And that is why I'm talking like this. You're still doing it. You're walking around feeling small. Why is that? Why do you humble yourself before God? Now, I just got in trouble, didn't I? That's expected, is it not? Be humble before God. If you are a piece of God, why are you humbling yourself before yourself? Does this make sense? Spiritual common sense. If you're a piece of creation, you don't have to bow to yourself. What if, instead, we said it's time to stand up from the humbling position and take the power that's yours? In benevolence, in courtesy, in generosity, in integrity, not humbleness. What good is it going to do to grovel before God? And how is that helping the planet? Groveling before God. And the reason I'm in trouble with this message is because that's what you've been given since day one. God is great, you're not, therefore you should bow a little. But if you apply the teachings of yesterday and today, and you start to realize that you are a piece of this majesty that is God itself, that it's in every single piece of trillions of DNA molecules in you, and that they all have a consciousness of wanting you to discover what that is, do you think they want to be worshipped? And the answer is no. I want you to start thinking differently about God, about the soul that you have inside. You deserve to awaken to your magnificence. How about that statement? And the magnificence does not show itself in egotism. You don't stand and beat your chest and tell everybody how good you are. No master has ever done that. You awaken to the wisdom and the maturity of mastery. What is one of the chief attributes of mastery? Silence. You knew that. Be still and know you are God. It's silence. There's an internal knowing where you can breathe the air of the planet and you can remember and you can say, you know, the air of the other planet, it was pretty much like this one. You're wise beyond words because you've been there and done that, and perhaps you don't know the details. But just sit there for a moment and be quiet. Can't you feel who you are? Is this too far removed? Is this too far removed from your intellectual pursuit? Is this too far removed from your 3D logic to think that there was more to life than what you've been told? There is no judgment. Stop humanizing God and creating attributes of situations that are human applied to God. How many times have we heard there are trapped souls someplace? They may be trapped between one place and another, and then humans will decide what those places are. They'll create levels, perhaps. The soul is trapped between 3 and 5. It's all human-made. You know this. How can the creator of the universe be trapped? There is no individual soul energies. It's all part of the whole. It is a collective that is part of you. And when you expire corporally and move on to the next level, the soul is collected from your body and becomes part of the whole again. Now, when you sense somebody who's departed, That is singular, and it's hard to describe to you. It's actual, it's real. We've even told you that pieces and parts of your loved ones who have passed over, the ones especially just recently, become part of you for your life. That's soul sharing, dear ones. It's important you understand how this works. So how can you have part of God trapped between some human created levels? And the answer is, it's impossible. Can I call it what it is? It's mythology at its best. So the next time somebody looks at whatever it is they're looking at and said that's a result of a soul being trapped, inside yourself, I want you to know better. It's not necessary for you to speak up and say, well, now that's not exactly right. That's not what the masters do either. No, I want you to know better. And the reasoning for this is so you don't see a system that doesn't exist. I want you to see the system that exists. And that one is beautiful. There's no issues. There's no problems. There's no trappings. There's no purgatories. There's no soul that goes someplace in preparation for something else. We told you that yesterday. There's no levels of souldom. God is God. The creator of this universe is what it is. It's not segmented. It's not trapped. And it does not have a consciousness like humans do. It's beyond that. Way beyond that. It's something I can't even describe. For you, all you have to know is that it loves you beyond measure, and everything that is there for you is benevolent. You don't have to jump hurdles, dear ones. You don't have to prove yourself one way or the other. You just have to agree to learn more about what is there inside you. And the rest will be something that will be self-evident. And we say it again, when you go to your knees, if you wish to do it, if you want to honor God in any way you want to, when you pray, when you meditate, we're there. And there's only really one question, if you want to ask a question, that you should have. And the question is, dear God, tell me what I need to know. There's only one. And the reasoning is this, is that all of the other things that you could possibly ask are subservient to that one. Tell me what it is I need to know, dear Spirit, in order to solve the problem, to get from A to B. There's somebody here who needs to hear that. Here's what I'm going to, you know who you are. I want you to go to a place and ask Spirit this. Tell me what it is I need to know to get out of pain. All right? You didn't come to suffer, dear ones. It's time to get through that. Someone needed to hear that. Shouldn't have to live that way. That was not the plan. Whatever has happened, water under the bridge that brings you to that place can be undone. You have control over your own cellular structure, and it wants to hear from you. I want to bring up the final one. This one is difficult. We always save the best to last. The ones that are hard to understand, concepts that are perhaps things that you haven't really pondered much, and I'll give it to you. And this has to do with what we would call soul inheritance. When you look at inheritance as you perceive it, it's mostly in 3 dimensions, and it is what we would call chemical. And the confusing part is that you, as a human being, especially one who is aware of your spiritual complement, are dealing with an oxymoron. You are dealing with 2 kinds of inheritance that happen within one single body. Now, the chemical inheritance is that which you're taught in school, and it carries over with it a lot of what your parents had and your grandparents had. You look like them, Perhaps you will have dispositions in cellular structure. Your DNA carries through. There are things that you pass. There are talents, there are instincts that your parents would have, and you can see it. Some of you can even look at your hands and recognize your parents' hands were there. That's chemical inheritance. It's powerful. The man who sits in the chair in front of you right now has a chemical inheritance. His chemistry is Irish. And if he tracks back his lineage, he will find that it's not too many generations before he finds himself in Ireland. And he can track his name, which is very Irish, right back to a family who is there. And he's done it. Someday he may even visit. That is his chemical inheritance. Now, you don't know the story, and now is not the time to give it, but we have exposed to him his immediate past life. And it was not Irish. It was across the ditch in Australia. And that is who he is. Now, here is the issue. Who is he? Is he Irish or is he Australian? He has one path which is Akashic, and one path which is chemical. And so he is a combination, a unique human being who has an entirely different past when you look at the Akashic family compared to the Irish one, which is chemical. And they are both accurate. Is that confusing enough or what? It doesn't have to be. When you look at the parable of Emily and Evelyn and all the other trees we didn't even name, Jason's one of them. I'm giving you names that mean things to those of you who are here. Who stand in the forest, who are all together because they have the same roots. Remember yesterday? So what I want to show you and tell you is that you have to start looking at yourselves differently about who you are based upon both kinds of inheritance. The chemistry you have, you track back, and you think, well, my past life was then perhaps my partner had to be Irish. No, it doesn't. You just have the attributes of chemistry. The real past life, the one you want to look at, is Akashic. And what is confusing about this is how there can be two paths that are so different that then create a unique human being like you. And you want to separate them, and you want to say which one is accurate, and I'll tell you, they both are. Take my partner. He assumes, and now he knows, that he is part of his parents and his grandparents and their parents, that he has the chemistry of all of them. But he also knows that the part of him that is God that he knows is involved in his Akashic remembrance, and those are the lives he lived with other chemistry from other parents and other grandparents. The result is this, dear ones. Don't overanalyze it. I want you to look at yourself. That's all I want you to look at. How has this come together to create who you are? How has this come together to create who you are? You are a unique human being. Absolutely unique. This is part of the uniqueness. Chemically, you have attributes of 3D inheritance. Spiritually, you have attributes of Akashic inheritance. They come together to create you. Where it goes from here will create another you. The corporeal complications and the puzzle are beyond anything you can imagine. I have just entangled the puzzle that some will listen to. And they'll start to realize the puzzle has always been there. It's going to unravel some things that you didn't understand. How your lives, when read by an Akashic reader, can take you on a whole different path than what you know your parents did. And now you have the answer. Don't try to figure it out. I want you only to see the beauty of how it has created you. Is that good enough? That's all you have to look at. Unique in every single way. You've got the best of everything. Perhaps you've got the strength of the chemistry that you needed and the Akashic lives that you needed to build an old soul who can make a difference on this planet today. Did you think of that? Everything that you've gone through had a purpose. But you're done going to school. And you're done surviving. Now it's time to come out of the cave. See who you are. Check out the magnificence around you. Get out of the crouching position. Stand tall. Feel the light of God around you. And claim your mastery. Simple? No. No. But you always start with small steps. And they turn into bigger ones. So now it's time to start. That's the message of the day. It'll get more complicated. I promise. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner, I wish you to go slow. Measure the words. Make sure it's correct as it comes in. This is the next to the last channel of 2015. There actually are 2 more to come. I say next to the last because it's the next to the last one in a Kryon meeting. And so we are going to say that this one is where we wish to bring you information for the future. Some will say this is a science channel. It isn't. But there are those who may say, well, I want scientists to hear what you had to say today, Kryon. And so right now, I may have those listening who have been told to listen. If this is you listening at this point in time, you're listening in the future. But of course, you don't think it's the future. For you, it's now. For me, it's now. For the crowd in front of me, it's not now. How do you like it so far? We speak to many. Out of the time frame that you think. This channel may be brought forward later. This channel may be something that will be brought into a venue you don't expect to prove what you've just discovered. To validate what you know is there now that you did not when the channel was given. Confused yet? It's that kind of a channel. My partner gives chills, for he knows that the information is beautiful. He knows it's appropriate. He knows it's desired and that humanity wants what is coming now. So he goes slow. I want to talk about a discovery. A discovery that will be made, that is being made, and it happens gradually. And before I discuss what it is or how it works, I want to give you some things to think about. Question: is it possible that there is a template existing in your DNA that carries the secret to youth? A template that isn't simply data. It is part of the molecular structure of multidimensional DNA that can be activated and exposed in certain cases. And when it is, it changes everything about the human being that it belongs to. Is it possible that there is something inside every single molecule of your DNA that could keep you alive 2, 3, 4 times as long as you're living now? Is there a template of birth? A design that can become chemistry that right now is simply laying there as an instruction set that is outside of the purview of your DNA's three-dimensional thinking. It's different. What do you think about the prophets who lived 900 years? I jump right to it. I want you to answer the question inside, and if you're a scientist, go ahead and answer it. Foolishness? Reported in many ways, in many places, from different sources, that some of the characters you read about in the scriptures, perhaps, or in the history books, perhaps, lived far longer than any other human beings have ever lived. A few, not one, lived over 600 years. Number one, is it possible? Number two, would there be reasoning from spirit or creative source for that to occur? Number one, is it possible? I am sitting here in the chair telling you it is not only possible, this shows that it was done. In certain cases with certain human beings and with males only, they lived grand lifetimes for the procreation of the race with their consciousness. Simple mechanics. The male seed is fertile to the end. Females are not. It was the man who had to live a very, very long time in order to pass the consciousness through many, many children into a fresh area of the planet that needed that consciousness. Do you believe it? Now you know why. What was the process to keep this man or men alive for that duration? It's simple. They had an activated template of youth. Now, I'm using terminology that is not medical, that is not scientific, and you may have your own. There actually exists right now, I'll tell you it, stay tuned, there actually exists right now a name for this because it's suspected in biology. Number two, when a human being has spontaneous remission, or what some have called spontaneous healing, what occurs? Number one, is it real? Do you believe it? Now you're a little more current, scientist. You've seen it. It's been reported. You believe it because of that. Number two, how did it work? And number two has always been the mystery. And number two has with it a lot of energy. There are those who believe that the consciousness of the individual who was sick brought it about. That is why they call it spontaneous. This would mean that through consciousness alone, and perhaps without knowing it, there was an activation of the template. So fast was it, so amazing was it, that it was beyond that which was recognizable as possible in 3D or in medical history. It's almost like the body cleaned itself. That cellular rejuvenation was accelerated vastly for a few days, for a few weeks, to clean out that which did not belong there to save the life of the individual. Spontaneous, automatic, remission of a disease, healing of something that didn't belong there. And it's real. And in the number 2 category, there are those who say, aha, it's the placebo effect. As though the explanation, giving a name, was all that's necessary and you could walk away. Oh, it's just the placebo effect. Let's go do something else. What is the placebo effect? That really should be number 3. The placebo effect is human consciousness through expectation of results, getting the results for no reason except for the expectation. There you have consciousness ruling the chemistry of the body. Full and complete expectation activating the template. Let's talk about a little science. There is a field that is called quantum biology. It's real, it exists, there are those in it, and the premise is this: that biology, like other physics, has quantum areas. Therefore, the molecule itself of DNA or any other molecule must have quantum attributes as well as 3-dimensional attributes. Now, for whatever reason, this is controversial. You expect quantumness in physics for years. It has belonged to physics, and yet somehow there is a wall, a barrier that gets put there when you talk about biology, as though biology was not physics. But it is. In fact, biology primarily is physics. For chemistry depends upon the very things that quantumness depends on. The spin of the electrons around the atoms, that they come together to create certain kinds of chemistry of life. It is more profound in a life science than one that is not. Question: is it real? Quantum biology, the study of quantumness in biology and life science, is real. What have they discovered? They've discovered that some quantum energies actually change DNA in interesting ways. They don't know why. They don't know what. But when quantum energies of many kinds are applied to chemistry of many kinds, there are reactions. They don't know why. Doctors, let me talk to you. There is a suspicion that within certain molecules, there are things that should be able to be seen and they're not. You see the results of them in quantum experiments, but you cannot see them through an electron microscope. They should exist to create the result of the experiment, and they don't. They're invisible. Dear ones, they're not invisible. They're multidimensional, just as you suspected. So it carries us to this. Therefore, the template that we are discussing inside the human body that exists in many molecules, including that which is DNA, is only visible if it is exposed by a multidimensional force. Let's say it again. In different words, my partner, here it comes again. The suspected energy in certain molecules will show itself when you expose that molecule to other quantum energies. Period. It is the only time when you get to see what is there. And when you start to see it, it will start having cluster patterns. Patterns that you may not recognize because you have not seen it yet in three-dimensional biology. But you've always suspected it. Let's call it what you think it is, the you-thing cluster. The you-thing template, it should be there. When certain experiments are done, it shows itself for a moment and then stops. Some have applied magnetics as the multidimensional force to expose the template. And so the experiment goes like this. You take the mixture, you put certain magnetic fields with it, you take a look at it the best you can with electronic microscopes, and you look for what you suspected was there, and lo and behold, you see a piece of it. It's there. How many years ago did we tell you about magnetics? How many years ago did we tell you that magnetics is a field that's going to be part of biology, and when you come in contact with what is called designer magnetics, and when you learn how to create magnetic fields that are designed and purposely placed, that is when you're going to see things happen, not with simply a magnet. Not good enough. You're going to have to come up with something more. But dear ones, when you do, it will be a multi-dimensional force, which, by the way, magnetism qualifies. A multi-dimensional force will reveal the you-thing molecule's attribute. The template is in everything. The template is in everything. Spontaneous remission is the template being activated in certain cases by the human being's consciousness, either survival or fear or divine intervention. And you've seen it over and over and over. One of the things that's going to happen in biology is the increase in the acknowledgement of quantumness and the beginning study of creating a life force which is now different because it's exposed to quantum energies. Exposing the template for what it is, to be able to be seen even in 3D partially. When exposed correctly, it will show itself. Then things start to move. Now, let's turn the page. And scientists, you can stop now. Because now we're going to talk about things that you will say are eye-rolling to the max. You'll say it couldn't be this way, it just isn't this way. When I reveal what innate really is. The smart body, that which you have called innate, is in total control of the exposure of the you-thing template. When multidimensional forces are applied, innate sees it and exposes what it should expose. Innate is the smart body intelligence that has no source that you can call a source. It is not from your brain. Innate is not a brain function. The brain is a computer that survives with you. You do something, it remembers it. If it hurts you, you don't do it again. You have experiences that help you survive from moment to moment. Your rememberer, that's in your brain. The creative things that happen come from your pineal. We have told you this before. The things that go beyond both of those is part of the triad which we said involves the heart. The heart is so important. It actually is involved in some of the things that scientists say the brain is doing. It's the heart that's doing it. There were those who say, well, look, you don't have brain functions in the heart. Oh, yes, you do. There's synapse in the heart if you want to look for it. There's magnetism in the heart if you want to look for it. There's all manner of things in the heart. It is not innate. So what is innate? How does it work, and what's going to happen? We've talked in the past about the future of humanity starting to come in differently. That part of what is going to be in the future is children born with a much more advanced innate. In other words, the ability to tie together that which you've experienced the last lifetime and this lifetime so that you don't make the same mistakes twice. And that is innate. I still haven't told you where it comes from, have I? Oh, I will. Child burns his finger on a stove, never touches a stove for the rest of his life. That's brain function, isn't it? Did the innate have anything to do with it? Oh, yeah. You see, the innate is the smart body agreeing with the brain. It's all integrated. Now listen to this. Here is what the innate, and I'll identify what it is soon. Here's what the innate is going to do with a newborn. The newborn will not touch a stove, because the newborn remembers from the last lifetime what it's like. He carries it over, and you're going to call it instinct. Don't touch the stove. The newborn is going to remember also the mistakes that were made that caused emotional distress and not do them again. The newborn is going to carry in the wisdom from the past life of mistakes. And part of the mistakes appeared emotionally and physically. It was the brain, it might have been the pineal and the heart together, but it's the innate that will tie it together and help the newborn remember it and pass it forward, intact as instinct. Now I'm going to tell you what innate is. And it's confusing, because you will then linearize it. You will not be able to understand how it passes from one life to another, because you don't know how multidimensional things work, especially when it has to do with the soul. Innate is not the soul. See, you were wrong. There's a Hebrew word meaning to ride. And the Hebrew word to ride is Merkabah. And the Merkabah of a human being has really never been defined really accurately. What is it? What does it do? The Merkabah is huge, 8 meters wide. Every human being, here's what it is. It is the multidimensional field which is created by trillions and trillions of DNA molecules. The DNA molecules are identical all through the body. Every single one of them, unique to you and identical. That ought to tell you something, because when they get together, if you want to say that, and they're always together, they create a field around the body. The field is a multidimensional field. Spiritually, it's always been seen and known as the Merkabah. Welcome to the innate. Your DNA collectively is what innate is. DNA cannot be taken apart as one thing or another. It is either collective or it is not. Let me tell you something. DNA decides when you die. Innate decides when you die. The field around you will give up the ghost. It's not the brain. Sure, if the heart stops, nothing continues, and there is death. But what about if the kidney fails? At what point is death then certain, when it can't process this or that? Sometimes it makes no sense when death occurs. And those who have seen it over and over in hospitals know that there's something else going on in the body that I will call death intelligence. When that which is innate sees there's suffering ahead and there's no more hope, rather than go through the suffering, there's the shut off. That's innate. That's the smart body, because it's really smart. It's also, listen, it's also an innate that's coming back in the next lifetime, because it's connected to the soul and the pineal and all it is. It is your Merkaba. Your Merkaba is the same as the last time, just like your soul is the same of the last time. You carry around different patterned DNA that has the same Merkaba as the last life. Now go figure that out. You can't. Because this is a mechanics that is multidimensional and spiritual. It is so beautiful to know that the you, the core of you, who you are, gets passed over and over. If you could really meet you in a past life, and many of you had, you meet each other. Different face, same Merkaba. Different face, same soul. Same innate. Innate knows everything about every single lifetime you've had. Innate knows you better than you know you. And when you start getting in touch with innate, this is when things start to happen, including the ability to activate the youth template. Are you listening? It's going to happen. Humanity is going to start living longer for numbers of reasons. When they start being able to activate it artificially with other fields that are quantum, there will be a rejuvenation of that which was the temple of rejuvenation. We told you it was coming back. Just different looking. And the other one is you. You with you. How many times have we told you this? That the consciousness of the human being, when fine-tuned, taking on the attributes of life and mastery, will live a very long time. So, Kryon, where do stem cells fit into all of this? That's where the templates are. That's where the templates are. And the stem cells are in every single cell you have. They're still there. Even that is controversial, but that is being shown and learned. There's a fast track to stem cell technology that is being investigated. But even that is not necessary. There come a time when you use your own stem cells instead of any from any other source, because they're the ones with the template you really want. Innate. There are things coming you don't expect. When are they coming, Kryon? The answer is yes. When you allow them to come. When there's enough light on the planet, listen to me. When there's enough light on the planet where these discoveries will not be weaponized, and that's when you'll get them. Do you hear me? When will that be? When you create it. Dear ones, you're in a struggle right now with light and dark. You know this. When it's over and light is predominant on this planet, and that is to say that integrity starts to win over non-integrity. In business, in government, in all things, you'll start to see shifts of what people will accept and what they want. It's going to come from the people first and then trickle on to those things. That is when you start seeing these kind of things happen. They're in the works now. Some of it has actually been discovered now. I'll tell you this, because Kryon does not reveal things that are not discovered. They have to have been discovered, and they are. But typically, they're at their infancy, and it will take a long time before they are refined. But the template is there, and some are seeing it. Kryon, what will the template do? And the answer is just exactly what you think it will do. Cell rejuvenation will be almost perfect. The telomeres will not shorten. The body will not age. Kryon, this is going to create social problem, isn't it? Too many people, right? Not enough food. Can I say this one more time? Oh, how 3D of you. You'll figure out what creates babies. You'll be wiser for it. You'll figure out how to create food for the planet in multidimensional ways. Do you know what happens when you expose seeds to multidimensional energies that are benevolent? It's not a GMO. The plant itself accepts it as a benevolent sign. Just like innate with its template, do you think that the life force of plants might also have something like that? Can you imagine growing perfect crops, 5-6 times the yield, with no pesticides at all, very little fertilizer, growing on its own because it knows now, as a life force, that you need it to grow? What a concept. Is it possible that human consciousness can be even extended into plants and animals? It's just a beginning. I give you right now a glimpse into a beautiful future. And those who listen to this and those in front of me now, as human beings, are all saying the same things. Oh, it can't come too soon. Let's have it now. Oh, Kryon, when. And I want to tell you, I want you to be quiet because you're going to be there. All right? You may look a little different, but you're going to be there. Dear ones, you are an old soul and you are not done with this planet. You're going to be there. Do you hear me? I want you to get ready for it. I want you to celebrate it and know it's going to happen. I want you to see the truth in this channeling. I want your innate, right now, to check me out. Your Merkabas are powerful, and there are so many of them in the room. Check me out and feel what is there. And know that this is true, and it's yours because of what you've done and what you're doing. It's your legacy and your future. And it's about time.
Let's move into a meditation where we welcome the energies of both the masculine and the feminine to be balanced within our body. So I invite you to close your eyes and allow everything within your body to just relax. Have some deep breathing and feel the energy within your body. And focus on the attributes of masculine energy and what they mean to you. You may think of words such as protection, strength, courage, and allow yourself to focus on the energy of the divine feminine. And you may think of attributes such as love, compassion, patience, wisdom and understanding. And now ask and give the intent to balance the masculine and the feminine within. Give the intent that we now balance the energies of divine masculine and divine feminine within the core of our being. And when we feel, sense or imagine this balance of divine masculine and divine feminine, know that this is the energy that Kryon comes to you with this full complement of divine masculine and feminine. So now we welcome in the beautiful energies of Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. These are amazing times. The times perhaps you didn't expect. The entire thrust of this program for the last year, for this next year and beyond, is to help you through this time. And the best way to do it is that which I have developed and told my partner would be the Circle of 12. A metaphor for the structure of all things, the 12s, the beauty, the majesty of that. But the main one is to step into an area that old souls are not used to stepping into, and that is your own magnificence, your own soul. This month, we present 4 channelings, and this will be the first of the 4. And those 4 channelings are going to be called things which are hiding in plain sight. So hiding in plain sight is the title, and it's going to be a revelation of the true magnificence of every human being. The fact that they are hiding means that they are unknown to most. Something which is hiding usually means that there is an intent in the hiding, and there is. We have told you from the beginning that free choice is that which we give you to develop and find things which are hiding. That if you simply wander on this planet and look around with what people tell you, with what is there, with what is presented to you in 4 dimensions, you will not see it. The ones who were the best at discovering the things that were hiding were the indigenous. They recognized right away that there was more to what was humanity themselves than what they saw. And that led them to so many things that today you are rediscovering. They discovered the things that were hiding in plain sight, including the connection to the earth, the connection to the ancestors. They knew about astronomy way before there were astronomers. They understood what was in the sky and how it moved, affected them, just like the astrologers of today. So there are many things that are hiding, and we have chosen 4 of the major ones. And the major ones that perhaps you know or you think you know. And this may be a review for the old souls, but there are so many listening to this who need to hear it. How do I begin to tell you what the first one is? And it's the greatest one. We don't save it till last. We want to reveal it on this program in all of its beauty and its glory. Because these are the things you are not told, dear ones. There is no major belief system today who will give you this statement or this information the way I am going to give you now, and that makes it controversial. What if you didn't have it right? What if all of those belief systems developed so many years ago, thousands of years ago, with all of the trappings and all of the rules? What if that was developed in an old energy because things were hiding and they didn't know any better? What if they misinterpreted some of the greatest things on the planet that were given to them, and today they're being revealed? What if you are far more magnificent than anyone ever told you? And that's the premise. There is a grander truth out there, dear ones. The biggest statement we want to give you is this: hiding in plain sight, you are a piece of God. To some, this would be blasphemous, for their whole premise of their belief system is that you are nothing and you were born dirty and you don't even deserve to look on the face of God because God is so beautiful and you are not. And if you've been told that, it's tough to rewrite that story. But I'll tell you, it's just the reverse. You have a soul. You know you have a soul. Do you think God would have given you a dirty soul? Because the soul is part of God, and you have a soul. What does that tell you you are? Dear ones, you have inside you the ability to do what the masters did on this planet. It is beautiful, beyond beautiful. It is magnificent. It comes with a promise. And the promise is this, that you can perform the same things that the masters did. And then we start telling you that it comes with consciousness and intent and practice and the energy of the earth, which has shifted to allow it. That's what the Circle of 12 is all about. There was a master named Jesus, followed today by 1 billion people. And it was carefully done. He was put on this planet as a man, not an angel. An angel did not come down called Jesus. It was a man. And through this short life of this man, especially toward the end, he showed everyone who was there what he could do. And it was miraculous, truly, today. He woke people up, seemingly, who were dead. He created things out of nothing and was able to supply the fishes and the loaves and when there were none. He walked on the water. He did so many things that those who will follow him will talk to you and say, you see, that's why we worship him. He didn't come to be worshiped. Dear ones, that man came to this planet to show you what you can do. He was called the Son of God, and yet he himself, in certain ways, perhaps in veiled ways, in certain metaphors, said, you're all sons of God. And that was the reason he came, to show you what you could do. And in an old energy, dear ones, he was worshipped, and then, of course, he was disposed of. That's an old energy of the planet. That's what you did with the prophets at the time, and he wasn't the only one. Now, here's what I want to tell you. Almost everything he did is being done today by other men in certain countries that the Western world is not even aware of or doesn't want to acknowledge because it's just too strange. Creating things out of nothing, yes, it's been done. Awakening those from the dead, yes, it's been done. Touching people and having them go into spontaneous remission, yes, it's being done. Creating changes in physics so you can do things even as odd as walk on the water, yes, it's been done. In this modern day, you can find it, and it's there. Because that was the message of the Master. You can do these things just like I can. Because inside you you have the creative source. That is the legacy that you come with, old soul. This entire time, from 2012 to now, has been shaped by the changes in the magnetic grid when I arrived in 1989, moving in a way so that consciousness could also start to shift and move. The relationship between consciousness and magnetics has been shown in science and proven. Therefore, consciousness is energy. And now you know, consciousness can play an important part in physics, and they're going to discover that. Already they're starting to work with that which is coherence, and that is what one human being can do with another and with groups. All of these things are starting to rewrite what you think you can do. And now some of those who come to this program as guests will start to use the same words that I have used for all these years. Look for the words magnificent. That's who you are. It's difficult to rewrite a story, a narrative, perhaps, that you've had from birth that would say to you that you are not able to do certain things, that you're not worthy to do them. And people in high respected places, perhaps even those you love, will face off to you and look in your eyes and say, you know, don't you, that you're not worthy. And you believe them. And it's not a conspiracy to make you unworthy. It's the best they had, dear ones. It's their belief, dear ones. But what if, just what if, it's changed? And now the revelation of a grander truth, a beautiful truth, can be yours. What if the sun has come out spiritually and given you the ability to look around for yourself and say, well, maybe they got it wrong. And it's not their fault they got it wrong. And they're still getting it wrong. It's not their fault because it's their narrative and their story and what they were told and what they believe. But what if it's so much bigger than that? And in that, perhaps you don't need a system at all. In that, perhaps all you need is love and the compassion to take the hand of Spirit and say, yes, I now understand that I am part of the plan that is God, that I'm here for a reason that is far, far grander than anything anyone ever told me. And that reason is to help the planet with compassion and love. And I can do it just like the masters did it with them. And I can assemble people who want to know about it because I love them so much.
For all of you who are out there dealing with how to overcome and transmuting those things, we truly are holding that space for you as you make your journey on that way. And I want to finish out these questions with an affirmation that came from Guru Deva. Guru Deva was the founder of a Hindu monastery in Kauai. And when Lee and I were there, I picked up one of his affirmations, and they sit on my desk. And interestingly, when this question came up, that affirmation was on my desk. So let's use that affirmation as we prepare for that message from Kryon. I invite you to close your eyes and hear these words from Guru Deva. I am not my body, mind, or emotions. They are but shells of the infinite energy that flows through them all. I am this energy. I am its source. I am on my way to merge with the Creator. And let us now hear the beautiful message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon. of magnetic service. I always say this, that I know who is listening. Spirit understands so much more than you think. Did you ever consider your soul as part of an entirely huge system of souls? Did you ever consider the multidimensionality of you and your soul being part of the creative source, God? And it is. This is how we know the consciousness of those who tune in, those who are listening, those who are watching live, those who are watching later. Even if this message is seen months, years later, it is still alive with the grandest truth of the universe. This is a series of 4, and this is the second series of the 4. And the title of the series is Things Hidden in Plain Sight. We brought you the first one last week, the grandest of all. This second one may seem to be something that is common, that I've repeated over and over. So we're going to personalize it just a little bit for your time. One of the grandest things that is hidden in plain sight for you, all of you, is that you are a healer, a self-healer. That everything in your body that you consider is inappropriate or wrong, you can change. And you can change this as you sit there. Hidden in plain sight is the ability for you to actually alter your chemistry. Not only can you alter your own chemistry for your own healing and youthing, but you can alter it at the core level. That is your DNA. You can change the instruction sets of your DNA. That is how powerful you are. And some of you are saying, I don't understand what that means. Dear ones, your life and your chemistry is written in the manuals, you might say, of the chemistry that is so complex within your DNA. There have been those, not just me, who have faced off with you on this very program and said you have the ability to rewrite those instruction sets so that if you have what is called an inheritable disease, you will not pass it on to your children because you can erase it in your instruction sets and never worry that they'd have it. It goes even beyond that. It's so what you would call metaphysical or esoteric that you would say, I don't understand it because it can't happen. And that's where you're wrong. You have grown up with instructions that tell you, a programming that has told you outside of the body of what you can and cannot do. And so, therefore, when something hurts, you never go inward, you go outward. You find someone else who can help, and they often can, and many do. But is your first impression to turn inward or outward? Inside of you, what hides is majesty. I want you to consider some things, and then I want to get personal. Let's say you have a tumor growing in you. Whether it's benign or not, it's there. Where did it come from? Are you aware it did not come from outer space? It did not come from another dimension. It came from, are you ready? Your own chemistry, thoughts, and consciousness. That's where it came from. Now, you won't like that. And those perhaps who are sitting and listening to me who are in trouble with something growing in them will say, I didn't ask for this, I didn't create it, I didn't want it, it just arrived. And I will tell you something, dear ones, that all the evidence is in your consciousness and your body. It didn't come from outer space. It grew there because of the chemistry that was either created by you, your thoughts, or allowed by you because of your habits. You created it. Now, if you understand that, you also understand you can uncreate it. The chemistry that created it is the chemistry that can uncreate it. It is doable. So many times, we have given you this phrase. Talk to yourselves, they are listening. And there are so many who will say, well, I don't fully understand that, but I'll talk out loud to myself. And I'll tell you this, that you're simply throwing words into the air. You're not getting it. This has to be an internal process of intent where you sit there for some time and visualize all of the cells that you want to talk to and start giving them the intention of what they're going to do. I want you to understand that there is one boss of the body, and that's you. Your culture, however, doesn't have you as the boss. Somehow you live in your head, and everything below your head is just what they call potluck. It'll just do what it does. And then you're just lucky if you survive. And that is how you've been taught. You have no control. You hope everything works. That is not how it works. Hidden in plain sight is the ability to change chemistry, to void things that are inappropriate in your body. Did you get that? You can heal anything that's there. You can accelerate healing of anything that is there. You can make it go away, just like it arrived. This is provable. So many have had this happen. You count on this process for homeopathy, sending body a signal, a tiny signal, and it works. Spontaneous remission, it works. You've seen this. Placebo effect, it works. You think it's going to work, you get a sugar-coated pill, and suddenly it works. What does that tell you? Hidden in plain sight, the master healer of you, your chemistry, your DNA, your body is listening. Okay, I'm going to give you the same information I have given before, that my partner has answered in questions before, regarding the vaccination. And it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to tell you something you should hear. There are those out there right now wringing their hands because they do not want to take the vaccination being offered all over the planet. They may fear the chemistry of it, or they may not like it. Now, this is not a political statement. It's not about whether you should or should not. This is a statement in case you take it and you feel you've had to, and you're sitting there in despair because you've taken something you didn't want to, and now you're afraid of its effects. First of all, let me tell you, you should be. This particular vaccination, one of them in particular, down the line, will show itself as inappropriate in reproduction. You're going to see it. And they didn't know it, and it was not tested long enough. But there are those who say everyone should take it, and therefore many have. What about you? Let me tell you something. If you take it, you are in charge of the chemistry of it. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. On your own, even if it's RNA-based, you can change what it has done. You can void all of the inappropriate things and be just fine. If you can change the chemistry of your ancestry, you can do that. I want you to know, and I want you to hear it. If you fear the vaccine, now, many don't. Many feel it is exactly what should be. But if you fear it and have had to take it, or are facing the specter of taking it and you don't want to, don't wring your hands, dear ones. Don't be afraid, dear ones. You are the master healer of your own chemistry and can void anything inappropriate in your body. That is miraculous, and that is hidden in plain sight. Why don't we all take a moment, including my partner, and respect this. Sit with it and say, thank you, Spirit. in these times of trouble.
And I invite you to close your eyes, deepen your breathing, and think about all of the masters that have been on our planet. There have been so many come in physical form to show us the potential that exists within all of us. And each of you will have your own version of who that master healer is for you. They could be alive on the planet now, or they could be someone that has been on the planet, had an end-of-life experience, and is now communicating at a soul level. Whatever that master is to you, let us ask to receive an eternal peace to help us in our understanding of the bigger picture. To bring us peace when things happen and we don't know the reason why something has happened. So that when we face a situation where we look at that situation and ask why did this happen? Let us use that as the invitation for the energy of peace to descend upon us from the masters. Allow the energy of peace to descend upon you. You are receiving that from the masters. And as that bubble of peace wraps around you, let us invite the wisdom of the words from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. A bubble of peace. How appropriate that this was brought up. This is indeed another installment of the series of 4, which we call things which are hiding in plain sight. If you take a look at the human being, the way you are right today, it's the way you were before, and before that. It's the way the ancients were. That hasn't changed much. What has changed is consciousness. Your ability perhaps to understand and develop belief systems that involve very complex ideas that are beyond that which is 3D. You have no problems with a beautiful, loving God that can hear a billion prayers all at once. That's not linear. You don't even ask, how can God do it? What if that reality which you consider is God actually spills into that which is the human being's soul, and then spills into that which is the design of the multidimensional parts of a human being? Dear ones, your cellular structure, your DNA, has multidimensional pieces and parts. If you don't believe that, ask this: what does a quantum biologist study? They study the multidimensional parts of the human being, the quantum parts, they would say. Quantum is a word that we would use, perhaps improperly to a physicist, that says it is a multidimensional part. If that is true, that means that you also have within you the ability to be nonlinear. Kryon, what are you talking about? All this science. One of the things that's hiding in plain sight is your soul. Now, we have never really said that before. We've talked about some of the other things hiding in plain sight before, but not this one. This is new. That is why the Circle of 12 was conceived. It's a new concept that you can identify and walk into that which is your soul part. That soul part of you is miraculous. That soul part of you is also part of the creative source itself. So when you're there, dear ones, it is an amazing experience because anything is possible. This is where you can meet and work with your past lives. When you walk into that which is your soul energy, you've seen it on the Circle of 12, right here, over and over. There is no limitation to what you might be able to do. You think about these things. What is it that perhaps you could do if you could walk into that which is the soul of yourself? Who could you meet? I want you to take a look for a moment and remember what the Circle of 12 has given you in the aspects of who has been in the theater and what has taken place in that theater. These are all metaphors of what you can do for yourself if you could meet your soul. Now, there are so many who would tell you at this moment, don't pay any attention to that silly stuff. You can't do that. They'll tell you that the soul is completely and totally removed from you. It's on the other side of the veil, and the mechanism of the soul is simply that which is up to God, and that you yourself have nothing to do with it while you're here. Now I ask you, does that really make sense? Would you have designed it that way? Now, I continually say these things about spiritual logic. How would you have designed yourself in pure compassion and love from the other side of the veil? And we've said this before. Would you have designed a system that removes you from God? That's what so many teach even today. A system which has you groveling in the dirt, climbing ladders in order to, that's a metaphor, steps or ladders in order to gain that which God would give you, of looking down so you don't have to look in the face of God because you're not worthy. Does that sound familiar? Would you have designed it that way? Does a parent design that for their kids? And the answer is no. Compassion and love have to win. Light is winning. So get into some spiritual logic and understand that these things start to make sense. Your soul is spectacular in every single way. It is the core spirituality, I would say spiritually, it is the core source of you and the Creator's connection. It's the core source of you and the Creator's connection, connecting with God. Is it possible that you can look into the face of the Creator? And the answer is yes, because when you do, you look at your own face. You are part of everything. The soul is eternal. It never started and it never will end, just like the Creator. There is no difference. Imagine God always had souls within it, ready to do what you're doing. That means you are part of the creative source. And for the first time, we tell you, you can touch the face of God. You have permission. It's always been there. But now in this new energy, it's doable. Hiding in plain sight is the ability for you to cross that bridge that we do every day. You can meet the masters of the past and ask them questions. You can meet yourself, your past lives, and ask questions. You can meet the core of the loved ones and ask them all the things you'd like to. You can have gifts presented to you. You can have healings. And there's something else. You can meet someone that's very, very important. And that someone I will reveal later in the Circle of 12. That's just to say, for those of you who are not members of the Circle of 12 and listening to that you can do anything. In this soul energy is pure healing. In this soul energy is everything you ever were or ever will be. And you can touch that. You can sit within it like a bubble of peace that was mentioned before. Dear ones, I want you to understand that the miracles you believe are miracles may not be miracles. They may be what you've always been able to do. They may seem like miracles to others, only because they have been told these things are not possible. And they are. I want you to understand that this soul energy can be used in other ways as well. You don't have to cross that bridge. You don't have to go into a visualization. You can drop within your heart instantly and be in that beautiful theater that all of you know about. And you can just sit there and be loved. Because you transfer that which is your consciousness into the field of your soul. And suddenly, you're in this beautiful bubble, and you know it. And you want to sustain it as long as you can, like the gurus in India, in their profound meditations. And it can go on as long as you want to, and sometimes time is removed in those areas. This is what you can do every single day. Drop into your heart, feel that bubble of peace within you, and know that you are in your soul energy. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to meet anybody. But it will soothe you. And you will be in touch at that moment with your core energy, and you will feel peace and compassion and love in times where you really need it. These are troubling times for many. And our information is always the same. That you don't have to be part of it, dear ones. And you can remove yourself to such a degree that the frustrations will not be frustrating. And you can be peaceful and walk through.
So let's move into a brief meditation before we have the Kryon channel. And to help us prepare for that, I invite you to close your eyes and move into that space where the external world can just take a back seat just for a few moments as you reconnect with the core essence that is within you. There is something within you that responds and resonates to the message of Kryon. It is why you are here. It is why you have connected with us. And perhaps you feel that when you come out of this place, your world doesn't have that beautiful meld between your light work and your day-to-day life work. So perhaps we can give an intention that as we move forward in our life, we have more of a meld between our spiritual life, our core essence, and that which we do on a day-to-day basis. Dear Spirit, bring about a meld between the core essence of my divine soul being and that which I do on a day-to-day basis. Dear Spirit, bring me the synchronicity that I need to fully step into my passion, my purpose, and the things that ignite my spark on a daily basis. And now, with that request, imagine how that feels for you to already have that meld with your core spiritual self and that which you do in a daily life. And let us give gratitude and thanks that we always have the ability to go in and listen to Kryon again and again to help us rekindle the remembrance of who we are. And to help rekindle that remembrance of who we are, we now sit back and enjoy the beautiful message that is coming directly to you at a very personal level from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. So much is happening, dear ones, with you. Question about dreams and reframing things and the body reorganizing things. It is indeed true, and I will add this to that in this new energy, dear ones, Spirit knows you, knows what you're about. Spirit cooperates in so many ways to help you. Dreams is one of those ways. If you haven't noticed, dreams seem multidimensional. And what I mean by that is they're never linear. You're in places that you used to be, meeting people that shouldn't have been there or who have even passed. So the dreams mean something else. Sometimes they distract you while you work on other things, and sometimes they're a direct relationship to what you're learning as a light worker. How many of you have dreams in color, or perhaps that you're flying? These are dreams, dear ones, that show you, indeed, you're on the right track. Perhaps you have wished you would have dreams like that. Let me tell you, before you go to sleep, give intent for the dreams that you wish to have and see what happens. For those of you who have dreams that you don't like, you can control that as well. Dear Spirit, you might say before you go to sleep, let the dreams this time, tonight, enhance my magnificence. Let me awaken refreshed and smile at the lovely things that I've had presented during the night. You are so in control of the things that you might not think you're in control of. None of you are a slave to bad dreams. You can control them completely, totally. Like all of the other things that we've been telling you, you're in charge of. This is channel number 4 of 4. The title of Things Hidden in Plain Sight. And we've given you 3 other things that are hidden in plain sight, and some of you know those things, but perhaps we're not aware of the profundity of how you can do it or how you can use them. I've saved until last perhaps the most practical one. It's not esoteric. Some of you will say it is, because you're not understanding perhaps how it might be used. But truly, it is not esoteric. It has to do with you doing something that no organization that is spiritual on this planet has ever told you you could do. And it's this one. You, as you sit there, as you live from day to day, can control your own reality. This always gets us in trouble when we speak of this, because there are those who look askance and say, look, chance is chance. If I step off the curb and a truck is coming, that's chance. Now, how do you steer around the things like that? How do you create a reality which will not have you step in front of a truck by chance? This is where it gets good. Let me present something to you. If you do not have any consciousness toward your path, in other words, if you simply let chance happen, and it will, just like you said, imagine that there is a path before you that is filled with potholes, and you'll step in a number of them, and that's called chance. Now think for a moment that you give consciousness toward your path. And when you do, dear ones, you're presented with a path that either has no potholes or you get to steer around them through timing and synchronicity. You won't be at that junction where the truck comes along because you have asked not to be. That is how it works. You connect with the field, where the field has the potential of absolutely all consciousness and things that may or may not happen. And you start to steer yourself through that consciousness into fields with no potholes, because you are now in control of your path. Dear ones, I am telling you that you have the ability not to have a chance, random kind of future. It's also a consciousness of what you expect. And that's how it works. It's not you then consciously steering yourself into places you want to go. It's you with your intent and your affirmations for your life. What are your perceptions of what you can do? Do you think it's possible for your own body and your own mind to project yourself into safe places? For you to give intent for greater things than you have, or to be in the right place at the time that you need to be? What do you think of this when you would say, Dear Spirit, tomorrow, let me meet the people I should meet appropriately. Steer me in to the correct places. I'll be aware with my intuition of those places. Bring me this or something better. And that's the prayer. And it's simple. But if you do it every day and you do it often enough, you're going to see you get to control chance. And you won't be in front of the truck. In fact, you will meet the people you need to meet in order to go to the next level that you have then projected for yourself. I wouldn't tell you this if it were not then being able to be measured by others, seen by others. And so many old souls and light workers are participating in this. Your intent and your verbalization for what you want is the key. We have said before so many times that you are in charge of this, which is your reality, through your verbalization and what you expect next. It also goes to explain the opposite. How many times have we told you this? You are not a victim of this planet. There are those, and I hope some of them are watching, who feel they are. And so I will say, if you feel you're a victim of this planet because bad things continue to happen over and over, let me ask you, what do you expect next? The answer is often more of the same. If you analyze your thoughts, your verbalizations, dear one, who feel you're a victim, you will find yourself telling others how bad things are. You'll find yourself verbalizing your fears. I hope this doesn't happen, you'll say. And yet by the verbalization of then stating it, you put it out there for it to happen. You are controlling your own life, and you're steering yourself into trouble. It's almost like, indeed, I've said it before, it's almost like You're in a restaurant ordering on a menu, and you've ordered things that will create that which makes you think you're a victim. The worst things you can imagine come out of your lips and you're not even aware of it. If you change your intent and start to expect good things, even things you've never seen before, you start to change that reality. This is the way of it. This is a tool of the human being through consciousness, which has always been there. Some will even call it a law, the law of attraction, that as you put things out, they attract to you. As you then put out on that menu the things that you are expecting to have happen, the good things, the synchronistic things, the things that others say are impossible, and then they start happening to you, you know it works. My partner has seen it in his own life. There are others who teach it. It is so real to so many, including my partner, that he designs his life through the expectations of things that have not arrived. And when they do, he smiles. I know it works. And he's not alone. There are so many who start to understand the process of consciousness, intent, to be in the right place, to meet the right people. And they plan around this to such a degree that you might think they can even tell the future. That's how powerful it is. I would like to involve all of you in this kind of projection. And perhaps right now with me, you might take a moment to use this gift together and follow this lead. Dear Spirit, I understand this gift. Dear Spirit, I am not a victim of chance. Dear Spirit, my magnificence can help create a reality for myself that is healthy, steered into the correct place, not by chance. Dear Spirit, I intend the best for myself. Dear Spirit, let me be in the right place at the right time. Dear Spirit, I wish to take my magnificence and push it to the future and see the solution to all the things today that are inappropriate in my life. Dear Spirit, this is my legacy. I am aware of the new energy, and I claim it for myself, knowing that light will shine upon me. It's the light of my own soul. It's the light that I came with. It's the light that will change everything from now on. And if you want to put an amen at the end of that, go ahead. That's traditional.
And with that, I invite you to close your eyes and connect in with what is happening internally. And I ask you to feel, sense, imagine, or visualize that you are a crystal. And this crystal that in this moment you are embodying, you have within you a time capsule. And within this crystal you embody, this time capsule begins to open and release. And you may even find that your crystal begins to pulse a little. You may even find yourself swaying just ever so subtly, this soft resonance that you are creating within your crystal. And this resonance and vibration that you are creating is that resonance of unconditional love and compassion that is in direct alignment with the Creator. And in this visualization or this feeling, this imagination, you begin to sense another crystal, but this other crystal is within a mountain. And the mountain is known as Mount Shasta. And within the mountain, that other crystal that you now feel and sense or visualize or imagine, it also has within it a time capsule that is beginning to open and release. And within that opening and release, the time capsule within the mountain begins to resonate and broadcast a frequency. And this frequency and vibration is the same resonance as the unconditional love and compassion of the Creator. And allow yourself, as the vibrating crystal, to now come into alignment and resonance with the crystal in the mountain. And as you feel, sense, visualize, imagine this entrainment, this resonance with the crystal, you realize there is nothing else to do in this moment other than be in that vibration.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. For those listening later, we sit in front of light workers, one of the few times that my partner would be brought to a group of like-minded individuals. I want to talk about the mountain. We are in that place that we call the shadow of the mountain of Mount Shasta. It is a special place to so many for so long. The indigenous held it as sacred. The mountain itself, as so many other mountains have been on this planet. But this one is different. If you have followed that which I have told you for many years, I will tell you that imbued into the mountain is the energy of core spiritual truth. There have been so many things happen there that are unexplainable to so many. It draws people to it more than just those who want to sit on a mountain. It speaks to so many who want to know answers to complex spiritual questions, ordinary questions. It attracts those who will sit and listen. It attracts those who want to spend the night, even if they're not supposed to. There have been many stories. Sometimes the park services, doing their job well, will close it off, and yet at night you will see a light sometimes as bright as an acetylene torch, brighter than any light should ever be, in a place that's inaccessible to any human. There are so many who have seen these kinds of things. They know there must be something there. Oh, there is. My partner told you you were at a special time, more special than you know or realize. I'm going to give you that information in a day or so. Something that I'll also reveal on the Circle of 12 that is broadcast. Something that is timely and for you, that's coming. But right now, I want to discuss something that is far out. hard to believe, mysterious, laughable to many. The concept of a star mother. The concept of those from the stars that may have actually started your DNA. Where you were humanoid with 24 pairs of chromosomes and it became 23 about 200,000 years ago. And science will verify that. When did a human being change and go for the standard 24 chromosomes to the unusual 23? 200,000 years ago. We teach that something happened then. Some of the indigenous teach something happened then. Information from the hills outside of Peru, with the indigenous that have been there for thousands of years, when we say, what happened originally? What is your creation story? And they pass along their language, translated into Spanish, translated into English, one word, intervention. They knew it. Those who are 50,000 years old in Uluru, who are still there from the same clan, they knew it. They claim it was the Pleiadians. Unusual, is it not? Those so long ago who never met one another have the same story about the same event. It's the same time frame coming from the same star system. I'll tell you, it's real. As far out as it may sound, as laughable as some people would make it. And the reason is because of consensus reality that my partner has taught today. None of you were told that. No spiritual leader ever told you that in any of the major religions that you grew up with. Any belief system that was organized on the planet, or even loosely organized, would go there. And so to you, it's an eye rolling. Not to this group, but those who are listening later. Is it possible that there's something called a star mother, representing those who came, who birthed those who are here, who combined with the humanoids that were here to create a 23 chromosome human? Why? To give them Pleiadian DNA. So you are all hybrids, all of you. But there's something like a time capsule waiting to be revealed in you. And it's time. And I'll tell you about that this weekend. The star mothers first arrived several places on the planet. The most notorious, the one that was most pure, Lemuria. No one could get there, no one could leave. There was no influence from other humans over time. And so the purity of what was taught there stayed pure. It's time to teach it as well. My partner will reveal that as well this weekend to you. It is real. The idea of teachers from the stars, whereas many, many eons ago they revealed themselves, they were in physical form, they are not. They are now in that multi-dimensional place where they exist in many places on this planet, but specifically in those nodes that they came to originally. They're real. And those who would argue this point would say, well, if they're real, come on out. Show yourselves so we can believe it. And we would say to that person, really? So you don't have any kind of an esoteric mind at all that would believe in a multidimensional force or entity or a thing? And they would say, that's right. They don't. I can't see them, so they're not here. And I would say, how about angels? And there would be a pause. They'd say, well, that's a little different. How about God? And they'd pause. Well, that's a little different. What if those Pleiadian mothers were angels and you've been seeing them all along? What if they were guides to you and you've been seeing them all along, but they didn't step up and say, hi, I'm from Pleiades? All they did was sit and help you and love you and help you through hard times. I'll tell you what. There is a principle that this creative source that I represent will always say is number one. Number one, your love beyond measure. Period. Unconditional. Period. Number two, there is no judgment and never has been. That's from men and women, not from God. Number three, you have absolute free choice to believe it or not. And nothing bad is going to happen if you choose to ignore it. Nothing. You can turn to Scripture, old Scripture, very old Scripture, even in your society, to see the story of the prodigal son. The one son that does everything right, the other son does everything wrong, and they go get the same party when they come home. And home is not a shack where they live on earth. Home is a metaphor for the other side of the veil from which they came. That's love. But here's what I'm going to tell you. That Star Mother group who is in the mountain, as you look at it right now, that Star Mother group is there. They know the name of every single one in this room and in the rooms adjacent who are not in this room. They know you're here. They always do. They know your soul name, a name you don't even know while you're here. They see the Creator inside you, and they do nothing until you do. That's free choice. And there are so many who would say, well, how do I activate the Star Mothers in my life, and how do I do this and that? What a linear group says those things. How do you think about ice cream? Write the list, will you? You just do it. I want an ice cream. Oh, I can taste the ice cream. Sit in a place, if you've never done it before, and say to yourself, to anyone listening, whoever you are, if you're there, I invite you with my unbelief, I invite you to be with me. Not to show yourself, not a picture, not on Facebook. To come into my life, my area, and start invading my intuition so I will have the right decisions at the right time. Show me your love, Star Mother. And then watch your life start to change. Star Mothers are not prophets, they're helpers. The nodes and the nulls of the planet were set up, are you ready? By them when they arrived, just in case this time of the precession of the equinoxes would have created exactly what's happening now. Do you feel the specialness of this? You sit not only in a precious, sacred time that the ancients said may never happen, or it could. A time which showed itself even on the prophecy rock of the Hopi. You sit there. That's the big divide, you might call it. Where the prophecy was, many humans would go one way, others would go another way, and choice would be there between light and dark. It's here. The choice is here. And this is when the capsules start to open. And this is where the activation occurs, pouring out that which can be commensurate with your consciousness if you want it. And yet there still would be those who say, well, I don't know. I don't know how. I just told you how. And my partner just showed you why you don't want to. Because it goes against everything you were told. Let me give you some information. Your parents, your pastors, your priests, your spiritual guiders here on earth, they didn't know this. They didn't know this. They gave you the very best information they had with love and integrity. It's not going to be a betrayal. if you go toward the truth. There was a core truth that is known today that involves pure love from the Creator coming down into your lives and working that which is called miracles to some, which is going to change humanity, put light on the planet to a place where there will never be a war like you see right now. It's unconscionable even now, and it wants to pull you back to the 40s. Did you notice? A surprise. Did you notice? What perfect timing to prove what I'm telling you. It's not over. There are other things that will pop up to interrupt the light. Interrupt it. Put a stick in it and stir it up, even in the New Age. Stir up the New Age so they won't like each other anymore. That's going to happen too. Get ready for it. And when it shows up, bless it and say, show me what to do next. In all love, show me what to do next. In all love, show me what to do next. This is right on schedule, dear ones. Right on schedule. Don't think the world is now going the other way because what I told you would happen is happening. Star Mother, show yourself in the lives of those who want to start to be infused with peace. Peace first. That's the first thing that happens. Not the solving of your problems, the peace over it. So you can sit there and be a wise human being and make good decisions. Not out of survival or fright, fear. It starts now. It really does. And you couldn't be in a better place for a life change, for healing, for revelation, for change to the better. You're sitting in the shadow of the mountain. Wow. I'm crying in love with humanity. And so it is.